you think it's racist or Islamophobic to highlight and try to stop fraud?
It is not, and I certainly wouldn't
It's
know.
not, but that was the message your administration was sending to multiple whistleblowers.
I can't speak to that.
You can't speak to that. No, you don't want to speak to that, I think. You
And
just don't. You don't know anything.
I do know that we have strong whistleblower protections, and I can't speak.
That's not what the whistleblowers are saying.
I can't speak to it, but it
Are you
doesn't
going to take
happen.
responsibility for this?
I supervise 40,000 employees. State agencies
You
have their own
supervise
HR.
a lot of employees, and as you have said, the buck stops with you. And your administration has treated whistleblowers like absolute dirt, and that's a big reason why we've seen so much of our hard-earned tax dollars defrauded. Governor Walz, are you familiar with the early intensive developmental and behavioral intervention benefit?
I am, Congressman.
Got it. It provides services for autism patients. Is that right?
That is correct.
Got it. And when did you become governor?
In January of 2019.
2019. Okay, so using 2018 as a baseline, do you know what that program paid in Medicaid claims?
I do not, Congressman.
It's about $671,000. Do you know what that program paid in Medicaid claims in 2024?
I don't have the number in front of me.
$342 million. That's about a 500x increase over 6 years. Was there 500 times the number of autism patients in that time period?
I couldn't speak specifically to it, but I will say, Congressman, that
doesn't sound reasonable, right? You don't think there was a 500x increase in the number of autism patients in 6 years, right?
Correct, and that's why we ordered on-site visits starting back in 2024.
So we agree that doesn't sound reasonable. Would you also agree that a single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud is a dollar too much to tolerate?
Yes.
Yep, and would you agree that as governor, ultimately you're responsible if tax dollars are defrauded?
Yes, I would agree.
Yep. Would you also agree that calling somebody racist is a serious accusation?
If they are racist, I think it's probably
I'm asking
accurate.
you, is that a serious accusation to make about somebody?
I think it's just an observation of reality.
All right, well, let's go there. Is it racist for a government official to identify fraud?
No.
No. Is it Islamophobic?
To identify fraud?
To identify fraud?
No, I don't believe it would be.
How come multiple whistleblowers have said that your administration told them not to say anything about widespread fraud across multiple agencies because doing so would be considered racist or Islamophobic?
I can't speak to it because it's not anything I would say.
Well, that's what your administration has said and has told whistleblowers, and as you just testified, the buck stops with you. That's what you stated in your statement whenever you announced you weren't running again. Are you familiar with Faye Bernstein?
Yes, I'm familiar with the name.
She's a Democrat, isn't she?
I wouldn't know that.
She stated publicly that she's a Democrat. She's only voted Democrat in her life. She's also stated publicly that she was retaliated against and called racist, and that her work responsibilities were diminished whenever she was highlighting fraud within your administration. Are you familiar with that?
I couldn't speak to
Why do you think she would?
Allegation.
Why do you think she would say that?
I can't speak for what
you have
she
no
would think.
idea?
I do not.
You would agree that the tone in your administration comes from you ultimately, right?
The tone is that.
The tone of how you might deal with whistleblowers.
Right, and we protect them.
Wait, it doesn't sound like you're protecting them. We heard from Representative Kristen Robbins, quote, "We have dozens of credible whistleblower reports saying the exact same thing, that people were told not to say anything because they'd be called racist or Islamophobic or it would hurt the state." Do you think it's racist or Islamophobic to highlight and try to stop fraud?
It is not, and I certainly wouldn't
It's
know.
not, but that was the message your administration was sending to multiple whistleblowers.
I can't speak to that.
You can't speak to that. No, you don't want to speak to that, I think.
I have over 40,000
be
employees.
retaliated
Congressman.
against?
Pardon me?
Do you think whistleblowers should be retaliated against?
Absolutely not. They have strong protections in Minnesota and lots of paths. And the paths go for the OLA.
That's not what we're hearing from whistleblowers. Faye Bernstein, who, again, has stated that she is a Democrat, she's only ever voted Democrat, says that she was subjected to, quote, a smear campaign for trying to make leadership aware of illegal contracting practices. Why do you think that happened?
I can't speak to that, Congressman, because we don't do it.
You just don't. You don't know anything.
I do know that we have strong whistleblower protections, and I can't speak.
That's not what the whistleblowers are saying. According to another report, quote, there's just a continuous effort to stifle you, to shut you up, and it's impossible to overcome. Your administration's response to whistleblowers has also been described as, quote, nearly unbearable retaliation. We've heard claims that, quote, they've been denied vacations, promotions, and that it's hurt people's careers to speak out against fraud. Do you think that that had something to do with the prevalence of fraud in your administration?
I can't speak to it, but it
Are you
doesn't
going to take
happen.
responsibility for this?
I supervise 40,000 employees. State agencies
You
have their own
supervise
income.
a lot of employees, and as you have said, the buck stops with you. And your administration has treated whistleblowers like absolute dirt, and that's a big reason why we've seen so much of our hard-earned tax dollars defrauded.
Look, Congressman, I told you we have strong protections. We have an Office of
This committee has
Legislative
spoken
Auditor.
to nearly 30 whistleblowers,
And they
most of
came
which
to
are
the-
current employees in your administration who have intimate knowledge of what's been going on, who have all stated that they've faced retaliation for calling out fraud.
I can't speak to them what they felt.
And time is up. I yield back.
First of all, Governor Walz, when did your administration first become aware that fraud risks were escalating in Minnesota's child care assistance program? You were kind of an outlier in the whole country.
Well, thank you, Congressman. This dates back to about 2012 that the action has been being taken. And as I stated earlier, on our first days in office, we started taking action. I would ask, if I could, on this, anything that Governor Walker did, I would appreciate if you would show us what those actions were. We're more than happy to implement them, and that's what we've started over the last 7 years.
Reports indicate that some providers continued receiving payments even after the fraud concerns were raised. Was that a decision made by your administration, and who specifically you feel did not?
I can't speak specifically to which those were. Decisions are made at the department level, but I can't speak to what those allegations were.
We're told it was still 11% under your administration. When fraud indicators appear in a program funded by federal taxpayers, do you believe the responsible action is to pause payments until those concerns are investigated?
I don't think it's that simple. As I said, these programs provide a really important service, and child care is a critical one. The issue is trying to make sure the legitimate payments are made and that you're stopping fraud. So I don't think in all cases that pausing those payments is the right action.
Okay, just in general, I'll say when the fraud percentage reaches 11% in Minnesota, and we got it down under 1% in Wisconsin, I think it's a cause for concern. I'll give you another question, because a little bit of this hearing wandered a little bit to what happened in your streets out there. When any agency comes to Wisconsin, any federal agency, I've talked to several of our sheriffs, could be ICE, could be Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, could be FBI, could be Secret Service. Our sheriffs always try to coordinate with the federal agencies, ask them what they need. You need us to set up a perimeter. Can we help you by transporting people to the local jail? Do you just want some squad cars parked around to presumably keep troublemakers at bay? That was not done in Minnesota like it's routinely done in certainly all the.
I don't think that's correct characterization. I think Tom Holman indicated that those things do happen and have been happening.
During the time in which you had the serious riots, or whatever you want to call them, in Minnesota, I believe that you did not reach out for your state law enforcement to help out federal law enforcement, in part because you're a sanctuary state. And
That is incorrect. Tom Holman indicated we are not. I don't know what to tell you, Congressman. We did. We want to cooperate. That's not what you saw on the streets.
right. We did not see cooperation.
You saw ICE agents shooting people in the head. You saw little children being drug out. You saw ICE agents indiscriminately throwing smoke grenades. And I think what the world saw was peaceful resistance and a defense of their neighbors. So this is not about immigration reform. This was about an untrained force that came in, not with the intention of immigration.
I would say that you did not have the interaction between local law enforcement and federal agencies that is routinely seen around the country. Thank you.